We're live. Hello, my name is Jamie J, and I am the CEO and founder of Bottleneck Virtual Assistants. Here we are live with Bottleneck, and I can't wait to introduce you to our guest today, Dr. Andy Garrett, because he's going to give you some tips and strategies on how to stop the bottleneck in your business. So stay with us. We'll be right back to get this show kicked off and started in about 38 seconds. Well, hello there. My name is Jamie J. I'm the CEO and founder of Bottleneck Virtual Assistants, and we are live with Bottleneck. I'm super happy to be introducing you to Dr. Andy Garrett today because the guests that I bring on today, I bring on for a specific reason, because they can help you stop the bottleneck in your business. And while this conversation today is with Andy, it's not about bottleneck.online, where you can go and find out all about the wonderful dedicated distance assistance that we offer. This is about Dr. Andy Garrett and what he's going to be doing. So why is he qualified to help stop the bottleneck in your business? Well, let me tell you, we're going to be having a conversation on how to build a blueprint for authentic growth that will amplify every area of your life that matters. And he's the founder and president of AG Thrive. If you haven't had a chance to check out his website, you got to check it out. It is one of the coolest websites. It's ag-thrive.com. It's simply laid out perfect. You're going to learn all about him, and it's very easy to navigate. So who is Dr. Andy Garrett? He's a licensed psychologist and life coach. Dr. Andy Garrett invested decades of his life into understanding and codifying the intuitive spiritual essence of authenticity into an organized, research-backed, defined, and modulated personal growth course, your Authentic Growth Blueprint. Having deconstructed the mindset, character, and daily practices of several authentic exemplars, Dr. Andy has established a model of authenticity that can be taught, coached, practiced, and refined so that you can experience holistic success, showing up as the best version of yourself with the people and causes that matter most. Absolutely love this. Dr. Garrett resides with his wife and 2 children in Newport Beach, California, where he coaches and counsels influential business and spiritual leaders. Now, I'm going to be bringing Dr. Andy Garrett on the line here, the call here pretty soon, so we can start talking about this. But I would encourage you, if at any time during this live event, whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, ask questions. Don't be lurking. If something comes up and you want to get an answer, ask away. That's what we're here for. And that's specifically why Dr. Andy Garrett is here today as well. So ask questions. If for some reason you're catching this on a replay, ask a question anyways. Leave it in the comment section. I will definitely make sure that I get this forwarded to Dr. Garrett here. And without any further ado, please allow me to introduce you to Mr. Dr. Andy Garrett. How are you, sir?
I am doing great, Jamie. I'm really excited to be here and having this conversation with you. So thank you for inviting me here.
Oh my gosh, I'm super pumped. I was just before we came on in the green room there, we were talking about how we met. I want to say it was almost like 2 years ago or something, it seems like.
Yeah, that sounds right. It's crazy how quick that time has gone by. That 2 years feels like it's gone like that.
Oh my gosh, it sure does. Well, I wonder for anybody that may not know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and kind of, you know, what that authentic thing. I can't wait to dive into that, man. Oh man, I love this stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah. So I, as had read, I live here in Newport Beach, or just outside of Newport Beach, with my wife and 2 kids, and we're very active in our community, trying to, stay physically fit and enjoy the surroundings. I have a private practice in the Fashion Island area of Newport Beach, where I've been working with leaders for the past 15 years. I have a background in clinical psychology, so I have a doctorate in clinical psychology. but I've been doing more of what I call psychology coaching. So it's really about, coaching people to develop an authentic psychology. So, really where they are understanding how they are wired, they're understanding, how to step into the best version of themselves. And really, the idea of authenticity, even as I started to think about, what is it that we're really creating and what are people getting out of the services when they work with me? Authenticity is one of those words that has become so popular that it's been overused. And so I think it's lost some of its significance. And so I tried to really recapture, what authenticity really means. And I know the word authentic, I've seen it used in some really negative ways. In fact, sometimes when I write about or talk about authenticity, I tend to get pushback where people suggest that I'm advocating or promoting kind of a selfish perspective on life. Or sometimes I hear people say that they're being authentic as a way to justify kind of a fixed mindset where they choose not to grow or, stay, this is just who I am. If you don't like it, too bad. I've also seen authenticity used as just basically saying whenever you're being honest or real. My opinion, and professionally, having done a real deep dive into the science of authenticity, I've interviewed over 100 people from mentors, teachers, colleagues, friends, family, to really ask, what is authenticity? When you are being authentic, what does that look like? What does that feel like? And what I saw was certain patterns that consistently emerged that really, I think, define the essence of authenticity. And then once I was able to say, like, this is what authenticity should look and feel like, then I could deconstruct psychologically, the psychological components that go with that and create exercises and create a pathway to help people to consistently, have a proven framework to help people establish authenticity. I think it's really essential for authenticity to really have a heightened sense of authenticity, that you're able to confidently answer the questions, who am I? What's my purpose? Who do I want to become? And to have like a spiritual sense of, like, not a spiritual, but a sense of ethics or virtue that you want to commit to, that is consistent and tied to your values. So I know that was a long answer and touching upon how I got to this idea of authenticity. But there's a...
I love it. I absolutely love it. Because as you started talking about it, my first question was how do you define authenticity? And you just did. So I think this is really important. So what in the world does this have to do with somebody that is having a bottleneck in their business, meaning they may be stuck or they may be challenged? And I think this is extremely important. And you're right. A lot of people throw authenticity around. It's one of those buzzwords without really truly understanding or defining that, or learning how they should define it and how they might be able to truly be authentic. And that's a big difference, I think.
I completely, certainly agree. I think if you can't really confidently define something, I think it makes it very difficult then to achieve or to, really internalize authenticity. And, I think the most simple way that I could really define authenticity is that it's really about establishing inner clarity and inner harmony. That when you understand what motivates you, you understand your core values, which is what's most important to you, you understand the impact you want to have on people and the person you want to become, it creates just this inner sense of clarity that's incredibly powerful. I think one of the best analogies or metaphors that I've thought up to date, if anybody's ever done any chiropractic care, when your back is out of alignment, you feel that. You can start to feel inflammation. You start to feel uncomfortable. You feel distress, and it can start to impact other areas of your life. So it's not just the physical symptoms, but psychologically, you start to feel down. You start to lose confidence in your ability to do all the things you want to do. When you establish authenticity, it's like developing a psychological and spiritual alignment, where suddenly, you have radical clarity for what you want to do, your purpose, and you just show up, right? That starts to then manifest in your relationships, in your business, in your work. There's a saying, and I know this isn't necessarily a scientific equation, but inner clarity equals outer results. And I think a lot of times when we have bottlenecks in our business and our life, it's because of a lack of inner clarity. There's some issue, there's some block inside of you that you have not resolved, that you may not even be fully aware of. It might be subconscious. And that is what's getting in your way of being able to maybe have a breakthrough, push through a plateau. Maybe it's a, interpersonal dynamic in the workspace that's creating a bottleneck. When you establish authenticity, I think it empowers you. I know it empowers you to really push through those and to create relationships that are the most influential, most impactful. We created a digital course that teaches all these things, and we happened to launch the first version of it. It was, I think, March 15th. I think it was like literally when it started. So it was like right when California went on lockdown, the whole nation.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting timing. And we had about 20 people that went through the course. And I think the timing actually worked out really well, just in that people needed it. They needed this time to really get clear when there's so much uncertainty and there's so many things that are happening that are out of your control. Understanding what lights you up and understanding where you have, can take forward action to really make progress happen is a powerful way to rise above uncertainty and fear. And so, the people that finish the course are seeing radical breakthroughs. And the thing that surprised even me was that they're seeing it in all the areas of life that are most important to them. And I think because they have the inner alignment, they're seeing that their marriage is in the best place it's ever been. They've never had more clarity on what they want to do in business. They feel this resilience and this resolve, right, that they've never experienced before. And so it's really exciting to, see the results that they're getting and to see how this can then help people, leaders and organizations. And if, we were able to teach this on a group level and you had an entire team full of people that were operating out of an authentic place, doing the work that lit them up the most, doing the things that felt most meaningful to them, I'm convinced that you're going to see your team and your business rise up to entirely new levels.
I think it's fantastic. And by the way, Raina says, hello, Dr. Garrett. Welcome.
Hey, Raina.
Again, if you have any questions, please let me know and be happy to share them so that Dr. Andy Garrett can answer them. In a continuation of your analogy, if you're talking about going to a chiropractor because you have lower back pain, I've had that before. I've had back pain and actually I'm going tomorrow to the chiropractor. I went last week, right? And it's been wonderful. But for the longest time, I pushed it off like, okay, it's painful, but you know what? I'm going to get over it. And I'll just keep trucking along. And it just kind of built and built and built. And it got to a point where, there was at one point where it was so bad, I went to the emergency room and found out I had a rib subluxation or something. I can't even pronounce it.
Sounds painful.
My rib turned or something. And I went to the emergency room, which was a bad idea because it costs a lot of money. Then I went to the chiropractor the next day because they didn't know what was wrong with me. And within 10 minutes, he did this one adjustment. The pain was gone. Now, did it come back? Yes. So I'm continuing to kind of keep it going there. But for the sake of, and Aaron Wexler says, this is great stuff. Aaron Wexler, he's in your neck of the woods there, I believe. I think he's a pro beach volleyball instructor. So yeah, he's down around the SoCal area, I believe. Santa Monica.
Love beach volleyball.
Yeah. So, but I wonder if maybe you can touch on that as far as ignoring the pain. And it's a great analogy because we sometimes don't know what we don't know, but we think we can push through there. We're too manly. We're too much of a strong woman. We're too, that doesn't bother us, but it really does because it starts adding up.
Yeah. I think for sure that when you are out of alignment, whether it be your core values or you're just not being true to yourself, you do experience some type of internal signal or symptom, and I think initially it's probably a pretty minor, discomfort. And if you don't know what those signals are, if you're not aware that that's a signal trying to get your attention saying, hey, you lean into this because there's something that maybe you need to course correct, or there's something you need to learn to be able to get back in alignment, then it's easy to push that off. And just like, your back or rib pain or anything like that, it will gradually just get more intense. And in some regards, even though pain is certainly unpleasant to experience, it's your internal system working for you. I remember reading a book a while back on the reason that we experience pain, physical pain, and it was talking about leprosy, which I know it's probably a strange thing to talk about today, but it was saying that one of the reasons why lepers tend to have, it's such a debilitating disease is because it destroys the brain's ability to process physical pain. And because they don't feel pain, they get a cut, they break, a bone, and they don't go get the attention that they need. And so that cut that would have been easily addressed with, a bandage and some antiseptic or something like that, suddenly it gets infected, and now they need to amputate. And so that the physical pain plays a really important factor in helping us to stay healthy, and helping us to survive and even thrive. Well, psychologically, I'm convinced pain serves a very similar thing, purpose, which is to help alert us to areas where we need to go get, maybe it's medical attention, or maybe it's professional help, or maybe it's just doing some journaling, right? Or I think oftentimes if you simply
maybe exercising,
yeah,
right?
I think exercising, all these things that are good for you, like practicing good self-care. And I think a lot of times if your core values, the second module, or the first module that really gets into establishing authentic identity, is all about defining your core values, but not just stopping there. Because I know a lot of people that they'll define their core values, but then it doesn't really show up. Like they don't know necessarily what to do with that information. But if you use those core values as a filter for all the decisions you make, if they become part of defining your business, and you hire people that are aligned with your core values, it's amazing. That step alone will have a dramatically positive impact on your life. And in the research, which is, fits and supports that doing simple daily core value alignment exercises is the most effective psychological intervention that's ever been studied. I mean, that's a pretty profound statement, but it's been replicated and tested and retested over and over again. And so it shows how important it is just to be in alignment with what matters to you, what's important to you. And my guess is in your business, if you find that you tend to have conflict with maybe a particular person or a client, I bet if you drill down on your core values and you say, is this person or is this relationship in alignment with my core values, that it's probably at what's at the core of the conflict. Is we tend to fight or argue with or against people when they're not aligned with our core values. And so I know that's a huge part.
And I want to come back to that, because core values are extremely important. Part of the decision-making process that we make before somebody comes on board is, do they share a similar belief system? Now, they can have a completely different personality.
Yes.
But that doesn't say that they should not align. And we even go one step further on each of our core values. We attach a question to that. Wow. So every single decision is based on whether or not it aligns with our core values. And we have 4 of them. And each of these 4, if we don't answer yes to any of these, based on whatever decision is in front of us, whether it's a hiring decision, a personal decision, if it doesn't align with those 4 core values, we don't move forward. Awesome. And we refer out or whatever. But I do want to, Aaron Wexler had a question. He said, how do we allow our authenticity to really show through our social media content? It's kind of a good question there.
That's a great question. I think it's something that daily I find myself asking, as I post content and I'm putting stuff out there. And for me, like the most important question, and this, I believe that there are 3 pillars. When I deconstructed authenticity, I really came up with 3 components of authenticity that if you figure you can answer these 3 questions and light up these 3, domains, authenticity will absolutely, you'll have clarity like you've never had before. And that's around your core values. The second pillar is around intrinsic motivation. So, really asking yourself, intrinsic motivation is something that you choose to do because it's important to you. It's something that aligns ideally with your values. It's something you freely choose to do. You want to get good at, and you want to, it gives meaning to what you do. It feels aligned with your purpose, and it's not motivated by an extrinsic factor. You're not doing it simply because it's going to get you approval. It's not going to get you, it may lead to approval. It may lead to getting, high sales. In fact, authenticity is maybe one of the most important factors in really having a successful brand and business. And authenticity in leadership is the single greatest variable in predicting leadership success. But when you're doing it from an intrinsic motivation standpoint, you're clear that you're doing it because it's something that you want to do and it's aligned with your purpose. And that's the primary motivator. And so when I ask myself, what is my motivation for doing this? Is this something I'm doing because it's important to me? It's aligned with the impact I want to have on the people that might be reading this? Or am I doing it because, I'm hoping that there's an ulterior motive here, right? Which is really, I'm doing this with the hope that people will buy for me. And again, people buying from me is a very good thing. So I'm not suggesting that's not a good thing. But if my primary motivation is simply profit, it's going to come off. People are going to feel that experience. They're going to feel like, hey, I feel like his real motivation, right, is that he's trying to get to the sell. And people, I think, especially nowadays, they sniff that out, quicker than at any time before. And I think you can feel that a lot of times in social media. I think I remember, seeing lots of people on social media. I haven't seen this as much lately, where they would post aspects of their lives that I knew them personally, that their life was totally inconsistent with what they were posting online. And so I think, asking, is this a true reflection of who I am? Is this a true reflection of what I'm all about? Is this aligned with the impact that I want to have on people? And what is my true motivation for doing this? You could probably go through those list of questions in under 5 minutes. And I think that would really help you to ramp up the authenticity in your social media portfolio or what you're posting.
Great feedback. Great answer to that question. There's a couple things that we've done recently that I'm a big believer of: authenticity, being real, being true. Because when I first started, I kind of faked it a little bit. While I don't regret it, I'm where I'm at. I learned a lot from that initial time. If I could go back and change things, I would probably change that and just let people know, hey, you know what? Yes, I would love to do this. I've never done it before, but I'm really motivated to learn. I would love to do it, and blah, blah, blah. I really want to help you out, right? Yep. And so what I've learned over time is a couple things having to do with social media and beyond, in your newsletters and anything like that. And let me see. Aaron says, it's got to be intrinsic. I completely agree. I feel like people are seeking authenticity in everything more than ever. Are there certain tested type of posts that stand out? Before you answer that, I want to give an example, because we sent out surveys to everybody, all of our clients and the people that we were closest to, because we really wanted to get some good feedback and learn about our service and see how we were doing. Well, a lot of came back positive. There were some that came back where I was like, man, that's how they feel. Like, and it was nice for somebody to be honest with us. Constructive criticism is huge for me. I've got thick skin. Tell me, because I really do want to improve. And so what I did is I showed the results of this to my team, and we went through that and we said, what can we do to better improve ourselves? Then I took it one step further and I sent out a newsletter, and my subject line was, I'm so embarrassed. And I said, we recently sent out a survey, and these were the negative things. We got plenty of good things, but these were the negative things that we got back. And this is what my team and I discussed about how we're going to fix these. That was our largest open on our newsletter ever, 53% open. And we actually got people responding back like, hey, good for you, man. Way to put yourself out there. But what we learned from that exercise and the information that we got feedback on, their words, our clients' words, is what we use for social media, reaching out and letting people know that. Now, you're right. We're in a business. It's a for-profit business, but I really care about the results that I'm getting, because I want to see other people succeed. And getting a phone call like I got about 6 months ago, where someone told me, hey, it's Saturday morning. I'm sitting here on the porch with my wife and my kid, and this is the first time in 3 years that I'm not working. Thank you for giving me my life back. I can't even tell you. I had no idea that that's what I was looking for, and it just smashed me right in front of the face. I mean, it was unbelievable. So I just wanted to share that story with you, because I think it was kind of relevant to the context of that. But going back to that question, I wonder, are there certain tested type of posts that stand out that you think you might be able to help with over and beyond that example?
Yeah, first off, it's a beautiful story and such a great example of this idea of like holistic success, where you can be profitable, but also be extremely fulfilled and find, great happiness and joy. And, when you implement this authenticity in all areas of your life, I see people that are in flow state in all areas of their life, right? Some of the authentic exemplars that we used as a basis for building this course, they were some of the most energetic, some of them were in their 80s, and they had an incredible amount of energy. And in really getting a chance to interview them, I realized it was because they're constantly in flow state. They're constantly doing the things that are most important to them. And they are getting immediate feedback from their environment that tells them when they're on course. and they just have a radical sense of fulfillment and purpose in everything they do. So they have such clarity of purpose. So when they go from business to their spouse to their family, they're able to pivot their sense of purpose with such clarity, that they really show their presence is so powerful. But going to the question, certainly I think that some of the posts around being open and vulnerable and honest, people love to hear and know that you're a real person. And so, but you got to be careful, because I think there are a lot of people that do like curated vulnerability. And so it's, done intentionally, almost to kind of manipulate, their audience. And while it may work, I think there's just a price you pay for doing that. And but choosing to be open sometimes about, some of the struggles that you've had, choosing to be vulnerable at times, I think those can be extremely powerful. For me, one of my core values is fun. And so I know the more that I can stop before I'm posting something, or if I'm creating a piece of content, one of the pieces that did really well for me was at the beginning of COVID. I hadn't sent out a newsletter in a couple of weeks. And so I decided I was going to get with my 6-year-old daughter, and we were going to put together a message for families about what we're doing to try and cope with COVID and how we're trying to manage this and deal with all the fear and uncertainty and all that. And it was just really fun. My daughter, I think she would absolutely take over my content creation, and she'd probably crush it. She is very precocious and she knows what that word means. But it was a really fun, piece of content that my daughter and I created together. And I just was really relaxed, and it was very open and honest. And we got phenomenal feedback on that. And so I know the more I can stop and say, am I having fun with this? Am I aligned? Is this, consistent again with kind of that purpose? I find that for me, those are the posts that certainly do best. I know as far as the analytics, I think the vulnerable pieces and the honest, I think tend to show up really well in the analytics. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think, that's a really good answer to the question. And there's a definite difference between manipulation and persuasion. There really is. Yeah. I read a post the other day, and I can't remember exactly what they said, but it was a good reminder. Like, hey, am I persuasive? Yes. Am I manipulative? No, I don't think I am. And manipulative, I think, is for your own purpose. Persuasive is for their purpose, for their gain. And if you can align yourself with that kind of belief system, in my opinion, and make things better for your clients or your friends or your family, it does so much more good than being selfish. It's more selfless and less selfish in being persuasive versus manipulative. And so I did want to kind of switch one more, because we are getting towards the end of the half hour today, but I can ask you so many questions. I'm so excited about this. But you mentioned fixed mindset versus growth mindset. And I wonder if maybe you can define the two differences there, because this is really important when it comes to being authentic to your true self.
For sure. So, fixed mindset, especially as it relates to personality, is this idea that somehow like we're just born with certain characteristics or attributes or skills. And, there's not much that we can do about it. There's kind of, it's inborn. And so maybe I have a certain amount of athleticism, that I'm going to be able to, kind of reach or fulfill. I'm only as smart as my genetics allow me to be. That would be a fixed mindset. When you attribute your success or results to things that are just kind of fixed characteristics, as opposed to the growth mindset attaches your results or who you are based off of your effort. And so, I think one of the most famous studies that Carol Dweck did with a group of students is she gave a kid, a classroom of kids, a really easy test to take. And, they all scored extremely well on it. And they told half the classroom, wow, you must be so smart. They told the other half of the classroom, wow, you must have worked so hard. And then some period of time, I don't know, it was a few days later, they tested the kids again. And this time they intentionally gave them a much more difficult test, that some of the questions I think were maybe even unsolvable. And what they found is that the kids they said, you must be so smart to, that they were more likely to quit. They got frustrated. The minute that the identity of this idea of being smart was kind of shattered because they were struggling with it, they fell apart. There wasn't really any resilience in there. However, the kids that they said, you must have worked so hard, that they were able to lean on effort. And so when the quiz or the test got harder, they simply leaned in and they almost saw it as a challenge, right? And they kind of rised up. They did much better. They persisted much longer on the difficult questions or unsolvable questions. And if not surprising, growth mindset is correlated with all kinds of positive outcomes, from a better quality of life to greater success. Whereas a fixed mindset tends to create a lot of perfectionism. A lot of times people just quit trying because what if I get exposed? I had this identity of being so smart or powerful or whatever it is, the best athlete. And the minute they struggle, that identity is shattered. And a lot of times they quit trying because they're afraid of being exposed.
Yeah, it's could be construed sometimes, perhaps maybe imposter syndrome, all kinds of things related to that. I'm a huge Carol Dweck fan, by the way. Thank you for bringing her up. Big author, and if you have a chance, go check her out. She's got some good stuff going there.
For sure.
So thank you so much for stopping by today. But before we wrap up, I'm wondering, I have two more questions for you. How can somebody reach out to you, and where are they in their life where they should reach out to you?
Yeah, I think what we saw, we got some great feedback, especially in regards to the course, about who did best and who got the best results. And I think it was, people who had done some work to resolve, any really clear, internal issues, but they were lacking clarity on purpose, right? It was they felt like they were on the hamster wheel. So if you feel like, hey, maybe I'm even getting good results, maybe I've got a successful business, but I'm not having much joy in this, I'm not having much purpose, I feel like every day I'm on a hamster wheel and I don't know how to get off this. I think getting clarity and establishing authenticity is a powerful way off of that hamster wheel. And so if anyone can relate to that, I think that's a great thing. Or if you find that your success is compartmentalized, right? That, hey, I'm having great success in my business, but I feel like the identity I have here doesn't work at all at home, right? And so I bring the CEO mentality or something like that at home, and I'm getting feedback from my wife and my kids that it doesn't work, and I don't know how to shift, right? I don't know how to, be able to be this different person that they need me to be. And so maybe I'm doubling down on the CEO mentality, or maybe I'm checking out from my wife and kids because I know at work, I know who to be, and I know what's successful. I think there's a powerful way when you establish authenticity. You have one set of core values that's guiding you in all areas of life. You establish intrinsic motivation for who you want to be in each of these different roles. And I've seen this over and over again, where you can continue to be radically successful in your business and actually find even greater fulfillment in it. But you don't need to change who you are. You can have that set of core values that guides you at work be the same set of core values that guides you at home. And so the shift is really simple, and you can show up as the best version of yourself in all areas of life to get fulfillment that's holistic.
Throw out work-life balance, accept life balance.
Love it. Love it.
So how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so my website is a great place to be able to check out, read a little bit more about me. I know we are still updating the podcast episodes to get that on there if you're interested in learning more about, the authentic growth blueprint and the principles around that. But ag-thrive.com is how you can get to my website. That's probably the best place to reach out to me. And on there, of course, it has all the social media icons and links. So you can check out, what we're doing on Facebook and LinkedIn, and would love for you to sign up for our newsletter, which is going out every 2 weeks at this point.
Oh, perfect. So Aaron said, thank you so much for your overview. And then my wife, my lovely wife, Sarah, she said loved it. So this is a rare occasion. She doesn't jump in on these very much. So you're definitely talking, saying something. I'm paying close attention. So thank you very much. So if you didn't get that, it's on the screen here. It's called agthrive.com. It's also in the comment section, everybody. All that's there. Thank you to Raina for posting that for us. And Dr. Garrett, I'm wondering if before we wrap, is there any words of wisdom, anything you can do to kind of something to take action for someone today that might be ready to reach out to you? Like, what's something they can do? They're on that hamster wheel of life. Business is going good. Personal life may not be going good. Personal life's going great. Business isn't going good. COVID. where are they at? Maybe some wisdom.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the most powerful things that you do, I mean, please, by all means, reach out to me and send me a message, and I'd love to engage with you. I really do love, what I do, and I feel like this is 100% what I was called to do. Something really simple that you can do is to create like a daily 5-minute, journaling exercise. So, I'm sure people have heard of the gratitude, daily gratitude, and I think those are phenomenal. If you know what your core values are, simply taking 5 to 10 minutes to write about your core values and to say, this is what they mean to me, and this is how I want them to show up in my day-to-day life. That is the exercise that is the most powerful, intervention that we've ever studied. That's actually it. And it's such a simple thing to do. And if, I wish I should link the quote that comes from Kelly McGonigal, who has wrote the book Upside of Stress and the Willpower Instinct. Huge fan of hers. That's another great set of books and TED Talks to check out. But she has the quote. She's a Stanford professor, and she acknowledges that writing exercise, journaling about your values. Dr. Kelly McGonigal.
McGonigal.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she acknowledges that core values, the values journaling exercise. And if you see the list of all the benefits that people got from just doing this exercise one time, it really is mind blowing. I mean, this should be like required, the same as doing physical exercise. Like this should be something that people should be doing at least once a week. We should be teaching kids to do this. It's even self-worth and self-esteem really should be rethought of as values alignment, right? We know that when you simply affirm and align your values, healthy self-worth tends to go way up, right? And you start to see yourself as being capable of changing your circumstances. And because you believe you can change your circumstances, you lean into challenges and you start overcoming them. So it's game changing.
I love it. Absolutely love it. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So I couldn't recommend enough. Get your core values going. The second part of that I think maybe most of us falter, including myself, is seeing how that's affecting my daily life and how close am I aligned to those goals on a daily basis. I do it during decision-making process, but I think I really need to take one step further and really, really get into that. I think it's very powerful. I agree.
It's awesome. I know most people probably have heard of a vision board. If I can throw a caveat, the values vision board is one of the most powerful things. And people who went through the course, it's an 8-week course. And so it's intense and people got tremendous value out of it. But the values vision board consistently was identified as one of the top 2 or 3 exercises in there that people loved and got such incredible value out of. And so if anybody is interested in having instructions on that, I've got a worksheet and a video that I can send you that just gives you simple instructions for how to ideally create a values vision board.
Fantastic. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap?
If I can say, because I said 2 of the pillars, the 3 pillars for authenticity. So really your core values and then how those show up and align into your day-to-day life, intrinsic motivation, really getting clear on what you're intrinsically motivated by. And then the third one is all about your virtues and character strengths. So really getting clear, especially intrinsically motivated virtue. So when you show up to be kind, compassionate, courageous, creative, and you're doing it with the right mindset, that might be the most powerful well-being set of exercises that you could possibly do. And then, using your character strengths in your business. And I would say, as far as the bottleneck, when you're hiring, if you think about the role that you're hiring for and what specific character strengths would be necessary, right, for someone to really do well in that job, is it optimism? Is it compassion? Is it emotional intelligence, right? So getting clear, and there are some really easy assessments to find that help to identify what people's character strengths are so that you can be very intentional about aligning people up with roles that fit with what they're most motivated to do and what's most fulfilling for them.
Oh man, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, we use a talent sourcer, and there's a lot of science behind it, where we give an assessment to our client, an assessment to the potential candidate, so that they can mirror each other well, but they can also have different attributes and different areas of strength, right? So that one can kind of work for the other. And it's the same science used in the Canadian Olympic team for their athletes to figure out whether or not they'll be a good candidate or a good athlete for the team, because there's a lot of working out you do for 4 years before that 5 seconds of fame, you know? So it's really neat to do that because it's very important. These are what we consider soft skills. Those soft skills in people are extremely important. It's not about whether this person has the experience or anything like that. It's more about the right match, the right fit, the right personality so that you can align yourselves, because you cannot teach personality, but you can teach systems and processes.
So love that. If I know Aaron, I think Wexler touched upon that too, that especially right now, authenticity or soft skills, right? Like I've heard people refer to COVID as the great pause right now, that we have an opportunity to really assess or evaluate, you know, are we enjoying what we're doing? Is there a skill set that I can learn in this time that positions me to, you know, come out of COVID with more value or be more intentional, more purposeful? And I would say that right now, if there were any skill set to really focus on, you know, leaning into some of those soft skills, obviously I would suggest authenticity. And I think authenticity is something that you can learn, you can practice, you can get stronger at. But I think the day of being a great technician, but having really poor, you know, being very inauthentic or having poor people skills, I just don't think it's going to be tolerated much anymore.
Too much noise, too much competition anymore. It's a click of a button. They can go see 30 other people or 30 other companies. You know, it's who stands out the best.
Yeah, I totally agree.
All different. Well, is there anything else?
That's it. I love just something to comment on. You know, we talked about the work-life balance. Is just like a moment there. I love the concept of work-life integration. You know, I don't know if you've heard that term kind of come up, but I think clarifying what that is too is, you know, that just, you know, that work is a source of meaning. I think work-life balance often has the suggestion that work is like this separate source of, you know, that this is just something I do. It's where I make my money. And then meaning is, you know, attached to things you do outside of work. Work-life integration, it's kind of like creating an overall tapestry of life, right? Where work is a part of a meaningful life and doing things that, you know, feel purposeful and meaningful, and you create, you know, hopefully healthy relationships, and you love going to work. And so, and then, you know, including your spouse and your kids, you know, that they feel like they're part of the overall narrative. You're asking for their feedback. You're asking for their, you know, allowing, you know, your kids and your spouse to influence you. So you're creating an overall quality of life where work is one source of meaning in addition to other sources that create an overall amazing, incredible quality of life.
Being intentional where you're at. Right. I'm here 100% focused on you, with the exception of occasionally looking at the comments. But yes, I want to make sure that I'm being intentional, and whether you're at work, whether it's in your personal life. That's why I'm not a big fan of work-life balance. I agree. You're living life. Be there. Be present. Right. And one more thing before we wrap, Eric Wexler says this was gold. Appreciation! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! So, Dr. Garrett, thank you so much.
Jamie, I love this. I mean, like you said, I could do this all day. I really appreciate the questions, and man, I feel like I knew this from the time we talked before, but there's some real alignment here. I think in some of, I'm sure, your values and mine. So I really enjoyed this.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. I love this stuff. This is what it's all about. So thank you so much. If you can hold on one quick second, I'll go ahead and wrap up. So again, thank you. Let me go ahead and pop up here. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you have more questions and comments, or you're catching this on a replay, let me know. Please definitely reach out to Dr. Andy Garrett, ag-thrive.com. He's got this course called the Authentic Growth Blueprint. Absolutely amazing. Dr. Andy Garrett is the founder and president of AG Thrive. And it's, I cannot stress how important this is from a foundational perspective. It's important that you go and today I would challenge you, if you do not have your core values, write your core values out. How many core values? I don't know. Is it 2, 3, 5, 7? I don't know. It shouldn't be like 20, 30 of them, but something around 3, 5, 7 core values that really, really, really you feel comfortable with. For us, our core values are exceptional character, unbridled creativity, habitual strategy, and insatiable passion. And what I've done is I've defined each one of those core values, and then I've asked myself a question: Every single time I make a decision, I don't care if I'm hiring somebody. I don't care if I'm launching a new course. I don't care if I'm buying a truck. Is that salesperson aligned with me on those core values? It doesn't matter. Every single aspect of your life work. What did you call it, Dr. Garrett? Life work integration, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Life work integration. If it's part of your life work integration, align yourself with these core values. And then if you already have them, revisit them. See if what you're doing today is aligning with those values. Enough said here. I'm taking too much time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, my name is Jamie J. I'm the CEO and founder of Bottleneck Virtual Assistants. And in order to help stop the bottleneck in your business, you've been introduced to the one and only Dr. Andy Garrett of agthrive.com. Please go check him out. It'll be, I know you're going to enjoy it. Without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and wrap up for today. Remember, make your own ripple. We'll talk to you soon.